The 2017 Genesis G90. Now, what you are looking at is actually a very interesting full-size luxury sedan. Why? Well, because it comes from Hyundai, and, well, we never would have expected Hyundai to come up with its own luxury brand, but yes, here it is. I'm Jay, and welcome to CarBuzz Unboxing Reviews, and before I go into specific details about this particular model, the Genesis G90, what you need to understand is, what exactly is Genesis? Well, it is Hyundai Motors' brand new sub-brand. It's all about luxury, and it's about taking the fight to the likes of, believe it or not, the BMW 7 Series, the Audi A8, the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. I think you get the point. But what's really interesting here is that you're getting a full-size luxury sedan, the G90 here, that is actually bigger than the Mercedes-Benz S-Class and costs a lot less money. But what I wanted to know is whether or not this is actually luxury or something kind of close to it, but not quite. And we're going to talk all about that today throughout this review. Now, the G90 here was brand new for 2017. But before we go any further, let's start up the engine here. Alright, so what was that? That was the sound of actually the base engine, which is a 3.3-liter twin-turbo V6 with 365 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque. Now, in our particular sampler here, power goes to the rear wheels through an 8-speed automatic with paddle shifters. You can get all-wheel drive for an extra $2,500, but what you're looking at here is essentially a full-size, actually large luxury sedan on a rear-wheel drive platform. Now, there is an optional engine, which is the 5-liter V8 that was a carryover from the previous generation Hyundai Genesis and Hyundai Equus, and this is actually a direct successor to the Equus. But that 5.0-liter V8 has 420 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque, and I'll talk a little bit more about that option in a few minutes. Now, taking a look at this exterior, they call this paint Manhattan brown. It's kind of like a brown metallic paint, and I like it. You have these standard 19-inch alloy wheels by Xenon headlights. You can see the new Genesis brand logo there, and I gotta tell you, that logo there really does remind me of Aston Martin's logo, and maybe even Chrysler's. Looking at it from the side view here, this is a very nice looking sedan, the G90. I like the short front overhangs, the wheel designs overall. I'm not wild about the Manhattan brown exterior paint, but to each their own. I can see how people like it. I also like that chrome strip at the bottom of the doors there, and all the chrome around the windows as well. Now, I think my biggest criticism of this exterior design is that perhaps Genesis, or Hyundai for that matter, didn't really go far enough. It's quite conservative. I even see some of the Jaguar XJ, their Jaguar's full-size luxury sedans, taillight styling here perhaps as well. But I do like the way the rear exhaust just integrates right into the rear bumper there. But overall, it's a nice-looking exterior design. It just doesn't do anything to move the design of the full-size, large luxury sedan segment forward. And if I were Genesis, I would have attempted to do that. For an example, if you look at all of the new Kias and Hyundais coming out, you just see how much that South Korean automaker really likes to push design and take chances. And I do think it was sort of a missed opportunity here for the G90, which is essentially the most expensive Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, whatever it is from the South Korean automaker that you can buy. And if you look closely at some of the details, notably that front end, I know some people have kind of discarded that front end as looking, again, too much like that of an Aston Martin. Specifically, I'm thinking the Aston Martin Rapide S. I can definitely see that. It kind of goes back to my argument saying, well, it would have been nice if Genesis adapted some of its own styling as opposed to kind of taking little bits and pieces from other premium automakers. All right, so let's get back to some engine discussion here. Yeah, this is the standard 3.3 liter V6 twin turbo, 365 horsepower, 376 pound-feet of torque. Performance 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.6 seconds. Top speed is electronically limited to 148 miles per hour. Fuel economy 17 miles per gallon in the city, 24 on the highway, and a combined 20 miles per gallon. Vehicle weighs just over 4,600 pounds. Now, the optional engine, the 5.0 liter V8, that has 420 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. It'll go from 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, which is not really any faster. Its fuel economy is not quite as good. You can also get it equipped with all-wheel drive, but I think the new twin-turbo 3.3 liter V6 is probably the better choice. It's a little less expensive as well. It's better on fuel economy, and I don't think a naturally aspirated V8 really does much to make the G90 a more performance-oriented car, because this is not performance-oriented. This is not a sports sedan by any means. You can even kind of argue the BMW 7 Series has a bit of a sport element to it. This G90 absolutely does not. Now let's talk about this interior. This is the beige and ash gray. It's got a leather-wrapped dash and door trim. And yeah, that is genuine wood interior trim, which again, kudos to Genesis for making that extra investment there. I really like this rear seat. I mean, if you just want to talk about rear seat space, again, this car is bigger than the Mercedes-Benz S-Class in both length and width. So that's very impressive, and it translates to the interior here, because look at this rear seat. It's massive. And I really like that center armrest there. Again, it reminds me of stuff, again, from Mercedes, even Bentley. Looking at this dashboard design here, it's very straightforward, and again, it borrows elements taken from the best luxury premium brands out there, which I think is a smart thing. And again, having that real wood trim really makes a difference. Genesis could have gone with like a premium looking fake wood, but no, they went with real wood, so very good. You also have these Nappa leather seating surface and ventilated front seats. You have a 12.3-inch HD nav system right there on the front. There's a heads-up display, and you can see right there the 7-inch LCD driver's gauge cluster too. But overall, I like this. I do dig that analog clock you can see there in the center. Again, that comes or reminds me directly of a Bentley. Now, the 8-speed automatic, that's obviously the shift lever for it. That is the only transmission offered in the G90. And I guess that's okay. You can see those little paddle shifters there. Again, I don't even think putting into the manual mode so they can shift it with the paddle shifters really makes any difference. Again, it's not a sports sedan, so it doesn't add any sort of fun element to the driving. But this is nice, the 12.3-inch nav system here. Overall, it works very well. It's very similar to what you get from other Hyundai models. They upgraded, I think, a little bit here, but the overall graphics and the way it works, logically, it makes perfect sense. It's very intuitive. No major reboots that I experienced or anything like that. Now, one thing I did notice here, and I was really surprised that it's not even offered, at least for the 2017 model year, is the option of Apple CarPlay or Android Auto for your smartphone. You don't have that integration available here. It's not even optional for an extra small amount. But again, if anyone from Genesis or Hyundai for that matter is listening, I really think that's something you need to add ASAP. That means now. And just like you get in BMW's iDrive, that 12.3-inch infotainment system is controlled by that this rotary dial you see here right in the center console. That's pretty much become the standard norm for controlling infotainment systems these days, that rotary dial. Yeah, this tri-zone automatic climate control. Again, two climate control systems for the two front seat passengers, plus a third one for the rear seat. I'm kind of surprised they didn't want to go for the quad zone, considering Hyundai, or for that matter Genesis, it's one of its big mottos is to offer more luxury for less. And but you know what? I'll take tri-zone in that case. It's still okay. Other features that you have these 17-speaker Lexicon audio system, heated leather-wrapped steering wheel with power, tilt, and telescopic. Also, it's kind of nice here. There's a sunroof and acoustic laminated windows and a power rear side window sunshades. Again, those are really cool features that were very, very premium maybe about 7, 8, 9 years ago in the likes of Rolls Royces and Bentleys, but now those sunshades have trickled down right into something like this Genesis G90, which is pretty cool. And of course, in any large luxury sedan, just tons of storage space. You got to understand something about the G90 here is that it's just sort of a big luxury cruiser for maybe a more conservative buyer who, quite honestly, just doesn't want to shell out all the extra cash for one of the German competitors or even the Lexus LS for that matter. That gets to be very expensive as well. And overall, build quality, I thought it was pretty good. The one exception that I saw is that the get this, the buttons that control the windows on the doors, they felt cheap to me. And you can see it was just another, or just one of very, very few, for that matter, cost-cutting measures that Genesis went with, and I really wish they hadn't. Because I'd be willing, this is just me personally, be willing to pay a little bit more just to have high quality throughout, because the G90 is already very, very well priced. Adding a little bit more to give it that little bit extra boost of quality would not really make a difference, and I think a lot of other buyers and current owners would agree with me on that. So safety, what do we got? We got a total of 9 airbags, including the driver's knee airbag, electronic stability control, traction control, and brake assist, automatic emergency braking and pedestrian detection, smart blind spot, lane departure warning, and lane keep assist, as well as a driver attention alert, all of which is standard. All right, so how does this drive? Well, as you can see here from the driving position, it's very nice how the steering wheel can really just adopt a perfect position for the driver. Also having these 22-way power driver's seat with a power lumbar also makes it a very, very comfortable position for the driver. But overall, it's a very smooth suspension tuning in it. But again, I'm going to keep stressing, this is definitely not a sports sedan. It does have a sport mode, but in my opinion, it's not really sporty at all. This is, again, it's a big cruiser. But what's interesting is that there's a smart mode that takes the driver's driving style into account and switches between eco, sport, or even a mode that's not accessible to the driver outside of smart mode. So again, this is one of the cars where it will literally do everything for you. And for a lot of owners out there, that is exactly what they want. You have to understand there is a difference between people who really like the driving and people who just want to be comfortable in a very luxurious car, and that's it. And again, you can just see with the front seat passenger here, again, it's all about just maximum comfort for them as well. Now, who would buy a car like this? Again, I'm going to keep coming back to people who, like, they walk into a Mercedes-Benz dealership, they see the base price of, like, say, the S-Class, which is about $98,000, and they're just like, even if they have the money, they may not be able to justify the purchase. And I completely understand why. Paying 6 figures for a car is kind of insane. I mean, I would pay 6 figures for a supercar, but maybe not necessarily a large luxury sedan. And that's what I think Hyundai Motors has really picked up on. And furthermore, that's why they created the Genesis luxury sub-brand. Again, they want to give you a better and bigger luxury car for less money. Oh, I really do like that center armrest there. It's just a big, big thing. And I like it how it has that other rotary dial you can see there that you can control infotainment screen functions from the rear seat. You can also control the third part of that tri-zone automatic climate control. There's those electronic rear sunshades. Again, a really nice feature that I'm glad they put in there. Again, that's standard. And what's also really interesting is that there's not a lot of optional features in the G90, as well as its smaller sibling, the G80, which is essentially the successor to the Hyundai Genesis. What I mean is that all buyers have to do is you pick the engine, the twin-turbo V6 or the V8, rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and that's about it. All the other features are standard and just automatically fall into place. Notice there how the rear seat passenger can control the front seat passenger's seat. So say if they're being driven around and they just don't have to ask the driver to move that empty front seat passenger seat forward or backward. And yes, if you want to put a child in the rear seat, there is going to be plenty of room for them. And of course, in a vehicle this big, it just has an absolutely massive trunk. All right, so let's talk pricing here. Now, the base price for a 2017 G90 is $68,100. That's incredible. Now, with a $950 destination fee, our twin-turbo V6 rear-wheel drive costs $69,050. Now, a fully loaded G90 with a V8 and all-wheel drive will cost, with that destination fee, $73,150. Now, let's compare that maximum price to the competition. The Audi A8 begins at $83,000. The BMW 7 Series, also $83,000. Mercedes-Benz S-Class, nearly $98,000. The Jaguar XJ, $75,000. Cadillac CT6, all right, well, that begins at around $55,000. The Lexus LS, that goes up to $74,000. These are all just, again, the base price of entry. Maserati Quattroporte, get this, $105,000. So for a fully loaded Genesis G90 all-wheel drive V8 power with well over 400 horsepower, $73,000. That is exactly what Hyundai, or rather Genesis, is banking on. They believe, and I also think they are correct, that there is a big market for cars like this. Now, what do I like here? Well, it's a luxury flagship sedan bargain, and it's great and easy to use infotainment system and a very nice interior quality overall, with the exception of those window buttons on the doors. Now, what don't I like? Again, the exterior styling, it doesn't break any new ground. The interior styling, again, is also a bit plain. Some luxury buyers may look down on it because it's from Hyundai, but I think they're making a big mistake. And overall, it's not particularly exciting, and it's pretty conservative, but I think that's, again, perhaps the point. And also, I just don't understand why they didn't put Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in this as standard fare. But overall, Hyundai, or rather the Genesis G90, great buy, and I expect more things from Hyundai in the future. But I'm out of time for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.